Okay, well, so how do I draw? Well, it's actually pretty simple. One, algorithms, two, robots. So I create line drawings mostly, and in my first step I create digital pictures, programs and algorithms that leave traces on my canvas in one form or the other. And in my second step I build drawing machines and robots that do the actual drawing. So let's have a look at some of the pictures and then jump right into the details.
Here I am again, standing in the rain, hoping that I can love again. Here I am again, dancing in the rain, hoping that I can love again. Here I am again, standing in the rain, hoping, but then again I'm just a man.
Okay, enough of that. Let's jump right to the digital creation. Over the years, I've been working with a lot of algorithms that are creating lines on canvas. I've tested magnetic forces, I've worked with flow fields and Boyd algorithms, where a bunch of agents are roaming the canvas and leaving traces. But there is one approach that I keep coming back to and that I use most often, which is actually a very practical answer to a more philosophical question that might arise when you are drawing, which is, how does the line relate to the world? Now, the line is one of the most basic elements of a drawing, and the world is my canvas. And my approach is very simple. I test it. I create a line in a world. In this case, my world lives in a game engine, and my line is made up of segments that are linked together in this engine and that have properties that I can change, and then I just see what happens. And hooray, this is quite underwhelming. The line just falls onto the canvas. But this might be because our world is pretty simplistic. Usually when you are in the world, you will encounter obstacles. So let's add one. And now when the line falls, it tries to avoid the obstacle. So the line and I already have something in common. It's not a full-blown drawing yet, so let's add more lines. And there we go. This is already going somewhere. When we remove the obstacle, we already see something like a drawing appear that resembles the world it was confronted with in one way or the other. Okay, next step, let's try what happens when our world is a little more complex with a rough terrain. And let's add more lines, because we can. And this is starting to get beautiful. Since there is gravity involved, our lines try to run towards the valleys of our landscape, and complex patterns and drawings emerge. But we are not done yet. What if we use a picture as the source of our landscape, where everything that is dark in the picture becomes a valley and everything that is bright is a mountain? Bring the lines in position and gravity engage, and let the magic happen. Our lines try to settle, and slowly they arrange themselves into something resembling a face. The beauty of this is that I can keep on adding more lines and change the properties of the lines also after they have been created, stretching and shrinking them so they crawl into the valleys or run over the hills. Save and export, because we're still not done yet. For the final step in the creation of the digital part of the image, I use a very old Maximus P patch with a quirky interface that has seen many iterations over the years, and I use it to rearrange, select and resize the lines on the canvas, and most importantly, since these are now simple meshes, I can add more lines to it by interpolation, which can add a lot of power and expression. And this is how I draw part one, the digital side of things. Okay, now to the drawings themselves and drawing machines. I did not start in this size, I actually started more like in this size and did for many years just works on paper. And this is actually my first drawing machine, or the current iteration of my first drawing machine. The first one was even simpler. It's basically two motors that are pulling a string that is dragging a pen over the paper. The construction is called a polar graph because you actually work in polar coordinates. I soon realized that I'm quite restricted with only a pen, and I also wanted to contribute to the lively graffiti scene here in Vienna, so I built a mobile version of my drawing machine with a printhead from a bubble jet printer that I control with an Arduino board and an ink shield. I started to like the combination of the thin lines on rough walls, so I brought this setup inside again and started drawing on cardboard painted with wall paint, and that's the pictures that you saw at the beginning. This has also a very rough graffiti-like quality. And talking about texture, I kept on experimenting, and for my next iteration of drawing gear I built a bot that can pour acrylics on canvas. It's an XY plotter setup, a very mobile but also very wobbly design, with a printhead that can carry pencils, pens, brushes, or it can pump acrylics through a syringe directly onto the canvas. It's very wonderful, very experimental, and you never quite know what you're gonna get. And that is, at the moment, how I draw. This is, of course, not really the end of the story. You might have seen my laser engraver in my latest video, and I'm currently in the process of building the next machine. It's actually going to be able to lay threads onto paper, and the paper is running on the table like a conveyor belt, so you only will be able to see the drawings actually while they're drawn. I think the world needs that. If you want to see it, you can subscribe. I'm probably going to make a video about it. Other than that, have a good life. Bye.